Welcome one and all to the first session of Brimstone Sleep, which is apparently the latest working name for this particular campaign. It was an announcement just last week from the author himself that Free League has started working on refurbishing this old classic from 1988, I believe it was, or 1989, something like that. And it will be re-released, I don't know when. They just announced the Kickstarter for the Book of Magic, so that's going to come out next year, which means, I guess, it's going to be in a year and a half for this one? I don't know. Who knows? They know. I don't know. And that's all I can say about that. But it's a lovely, lovely story. It's a timely adventure to go on, let's say. And this show is rated... We're rating our shows R, aren't we? Because piracy or something. I don't know. I don't think these guys are pirates, though. Is it PG-13 or are we R? I don't remember what we said. They are.
Language can be rough sometimes, so...
Language can get rough sometimes.
I let out some F-bombs. I don't want to be accused of firing some poor kid.
Exactly.
It was the Wolfman that did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody blames the Wolfman. And I'm your storyteller, game master, Mikael Hellstrom. This is Myth Machine. Remember to... all Tricorian news come through the chat and through the commentary. So subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Who do we have with us this time?
I'm playing Hero of the Large, human merchant and mining engineer.
Yep.
Gazebo, and I am playing Halveld Clearmind da Trisilve. Still need to get the hang of that.
Yes, these difficult words.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. And he is a scholar of some repute, but not enough. He wants to get that, make it into some great repute. And
yeah, I'm sure he will get lots of reputation now. And finally we have...
Brett, I'm playing Wild Wolfbane, the kind of solitary wolfkin hunter.
Indeed. And you've all been employed to go on an archaeological expedition to an island about 1 month of sailing northwest of the Empire. It's gonna be cold by the time you get there, at least compared to what you're used to. Ish. If you're a wolfkin, you've had that level of temperature before. You're from...
I do feel I should be a bit more...
You're from Trismera.
Cold
You
shouldn't
get
hurt me as much as, like, a human.
That's going to be up to your bushcraft rules, clearly.
just remember, if we play later in a warm area, you won't have to. We don't have to roll down the windows for you and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll be panting a lot.
Yeah.
Sweating through my tongue.
That's what they do. We were doing a session 0 before. We've established our lines and veils, and we have also gone on a shopping spree for the expedition in question. And this particular day, it's a spring day in the heart of the Empire, the capital city itself, and everybody is out and about doing their things, as is so often the case. You're gonna get insulted by someone, right? It's Trisilve. It's the heart of Tricoria. Even as you're standing by the pier side with all your luggage. I can tell you, though, that neither Brior nor Baldur, your traveling companions on this archaeological expedition, and employers, as the case it happens to be, are, in fact, Partornians, so they do not insult you, though Baldur can definitely enter any insult competition and keep himself fairly proud of his work, no doubt. Yeah, this is the motley crew that is right now standing on the pier next to a caravel that is going to take you all the way to Maryura, the island of Maryura, from where you will, in fact, go on your further adventures. I've even named your donkeys and given them proper tokens here. Look at this. Isn't
Now we
it
have to
lovely?
keep them alive.
Yep, Drotto and Grotto, the two donkeys. They're right here with you. Yeah. But yes, what are we saying this nice spring morning? Wind fluttering in various flags and banners.
I don't think Wild would be saying too much, as he's not used to being around this large of a crowd of mostly humans. Are very insulting. So he'd probably just
That
try
makes
to be as
sense.
insular as possible.
Kirov, if somebody insults him, like, Kirov is absolutely enormous. Probably like 7 feet tall and 4 foot wide kind of size. Absolutely huge, like tall and wide, muscular and fat. And he owns the most luxuriant coat ever made. So if anybody insults him, he just squares onto them, looms over them and says, "My coat weighs more than you."
The Paratornians are definitely people who will respect wealth. They might insult you anyway for something. They will always insult you because it would be impolite not to. But clearly you are a man who is favored by the goddess of prophets. Kastiki, blessings upon you, etc., etc. So you will definitely have that level of respect from the passers-by. I guess that's something. For the rest of you, I don't know how you might take it when they're insulting you. Oh, there you go, say now the flock of
Wild
painted
does
cockerels.
not like to be insulted, so he'd probably come close to blows with some of them, I'm sure.
May your hammocks
give a few-
cradle you tighter than your mothers did, paper princes.
Oh yeah, and if we're all together, do they use like relational insults? Like somebody looks at Wild and then back to Kirov and then back to Wild and says, "His fur's better than yours."
Tell the frost demons we send our prettiest fools this year.
I won't miss this place, I must say.
I'll just go, I hate humans.
To be fair, it's just Paratorian humans who behave like this. Trismirans and Saphinians, they do not behave like this. So, it's fine. But yeah, you're gonna make yourself your way up onto the ship, aren't you? The actual caravel that will take you all the way to this far-flung place.
As we're going up the gangplank and as it buckles unsettlingly under Kirov's weight, it's going to be like, how much gold do we have left? Should we have brought more trade goods? It's a mining camp, we should be bringing booze.
I'll have some of that, will Balder say. Don't worry about that. At least for my own household needs, strictly medicinal.
Dude. Halveld is just
kind of roll his eyes as you people are talking about getting drunk and just find some quiet corner to lay up and take a nap in.
That would be below. It will turn out, in fact, that as it happens, your accommodations are in the cargo hold. You got passage, but you didn't get passage in an actual cabin. Apparently, all the cabins were already rented out to finer people, as it were. Yes. And you won't be the only ones who are boarding either. There's going to be a plethora of others aside from your little expedition here. Of course, Brior and Balder is going to be a little bit busy with overseeing logistics, mostly because Brior is currently walking around and looking very confused. The ship has not sailed away from it yet, and he is already a little bit green around the gills. Not too much, but oh dear, he says, as he's looking around. Well, At least maybe we'll have a good game of a Smickel board while en route. Perhaps even several. Yes, that would be good. Yes.
This guy's definitely channeling me. I once got seasick on the Thames.
Yeah.
He'll probably get his sea legs eventually, but for now he's looking mostly confused and don't really know what to do with himself, so Baldur is stepping in and taking care of the logistics. He's overseeing the loading of the crates that they bring very carefully. Don't be careful with that sensitive scientific equipment. That is very important. Yes, very important scientific equipment. The Grand Sintals themselves have... Baldur has clearly southerner accent. He must be from somewhere around the Copper Sea. He's not the only one who's going to get aboard this ship, though. You're going to have... You don't know who it is, but she's boarding the ship, and she is dressed in very practical robes. She has a serious amount of... a couple of serious chests that are being transported onto the ship for her. She's not paying much attention to any of you, actually. She's just making sure that whatever she had ordered aboard the ship is being properly stowed. Much like Kirov, she is dressed in fine algae silk, so clearly she's a person of means. But unlike a lot of young people in the square of Tresilva, she's not dressed in the latest fashions, which would be very weird and loud combinations of colors. The more mismatched, the better. So that's apparently, yeah. I think Hal might peg her for government worker, perhaps?
Okay. Her dress is quite fine, though.
It is indeed. But so is Kirov's, right?
Indeed. He's not very quiet about it.
No, this coat is impressive. Another person who is gonna get up on deck here. A young lady, she is dressed in basically a red robe, no shoes. She has basically sandals. She does have a quarterstaff and a backpack and some kind of circlet with a snowflake on it. Very pale young girl, 20 years old, something like that. And she's looking up and at the sails and looking around at everybody on deck. And she's trying to walk up to this other lady who came up with the nice LJ silk robes and saying, "Hello!" and just immediately rebuffed. I don't have time for plebs. And then she'll just take a few confused steps backwards and stand aside. Apparently she only has a backpack, which means that she's lighter, traveling lighter than anyone else here, apparently. And she's just standing to the side and looking quite wide-eyed at everybody. While, I guess, Halveld, Kirov, and Wild and Brior are standing to another side.
Is it fairly obvious that she might be a spellcaster?
No.
No, not with the whole. Okay. I mean, are there obvious signs that someone's a spellcaster? FYI,
The typical
they have to
signs
have
you
certain
would...
attire
The
and
staff has to
symbols.
cast spells, right?
Halveld would like to know before they start doing that.
The typical sign of being a spellcaster would be... Here's a question, though. In Halveld's mind, does he separate between miracle workers who are just working the will of the gods, like healers and animists and so on, according to the Inquisition, the good guys, and the baddies who do the whole necromancy demonology thing? Is that a division in his mind at all, or is he just nothing?
Okay, so it's all lumped together, and some of it could be considered from the gods or doing work of the gods.
If you ask the Inquisition, yes, it would be. There would be a division like that. Yeah.
I think in order not to complicate things too much, he would go along with that division.
Very well. So he's actively scared of necromancy, demonology, illusionism, the mind-altering things.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Whereas talking to animals, making things grow, healing, and such prayers I guess the D&D equivalent would be cleric versus
Yeah.
wizard in a way. So
I'll say he's still on easy, but he's not. He doesn't have the fear that he reserves for the others.
fair enough. The definite
He
sign.
feels a bit it's cheating. There's rules. There's laws of nature which can be used instead of this power.
The miracle workers, including the Inquisition. Maybe it's because the Inquisition is cheating and using those powers themselves. Maybe that's why they're saying we're the good guys and they're the bad guys.
Yeah,
Could be.
There's
Yeah.
a healthy discussion going on about that, probably.
Absolutely. The animist Inquisition will use animism. But no, if you're looking for signs of spellcasters, it would be that they are not going to carry any metal items on their person bigger than like an arrowhead, perhaps.
Okay.
Because metal apparently interferes with spellcasting. So, yeah, they don't do that. They won't carry swords. They won't carry... Their weapon of choice would probably be a slingshot or something with stones. Maybe carry a dagger at most, but yeah. Does she carry any metal objects is the next question you're going to ask me. And I can say only her quarterstaff as far as you can tell.
So all Halville needs is a piece of metal a certain size to carry with him, and could you hold this for a second to people who he's not
you
sure,
can do that.
and just to see
You can definitely do that.
how they react? Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that would be a thing you could do.
But anyway, Halvard is busy. He's just one scroll, looking in, reading about where they're heading to, the languages, the culture, and whatnot. So he's completely oblivious to the world around him at the moment.
Very well. What about Kirov?
As we were setting up all our stuff down in the cargo hold, Kirov will check out the cargo to see what sort of stuff is going to be traded when we get there.
Oh, this ship doesn't have a whole lot of trade goods. Most of it is made up by the archaeological expedition and your berths. So this is more like a passenger vessel. But this is not the only ship that's going to Maryura. You're going to go in a convoy with maybe 8 or so other caravels and a couple of carracks as an escort as well. Because, again, this is a journey that's only done twice per year, once in spring and once in fall.
Oh. Is there a special reason for that?
Yeah. It's too dangerous to go at other times.
Okay. And how does the communication normally work if they can only travel really twice a year between the continents?
Slowly.
Okay. All right. Okay. That can be relevant. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. There is one more passenger that will be noticed by everyone, I think. A young fellow, he might be 20 or so, much like the young lady in red. But this person is probably the epitome of Dracorian noble youth. He has a proper algae silk beret with an ostrich feather, no doubt from south of the Copper Sea, so the feather is probably as valuable as Halveld's entire wardrobe. He has plenty of gems and jewels on his fingers and pinned in his cravat, and he is basically looking over this entire place with a great deal of disdain. And then he's ordering some servants or sailors to take his considerable luggage into his cabin. So now you know who got the cabins, as it were. There were 2 cabins available, and both went to at least one filthy rich person and one potential bureaucrat. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Is his family name? I'd say that Halveld still has an ear open for perhaps names if the names passed by, or are they not mentioned? Wonder his family name is Holmes. Is that a name of significance?
Let's see now. Let's go with myths and legends. But since it might not be the most well-known, let's go with 2 Banes. Our first roll of the campaign, everyone. So when you right-click on Myths and Legends, when you click on Myths and Legends, you will be asked, left-click on it, you will be asked to add or subtract boons and banes. In this case, I want 2 banes, because I'm a cruel and heartless man.
Heck.
That's
Well,
unfortunate.
Yeah. Hang on. I needed a 14 or less, didn't I?
Oh, you succeeded. Yes, you're
I
right.
succeeded. No, I have to get used to the rolling low is good thing. No, I actually got a 14. I have a 14.
Indeed. While Wild, of
I've
course,
heard of
has no clue at all.
I have no idea.
Judging by the signet ring and the insignia on the luggage, Halvel, you would say this young man is a minor noble from Transmira, actually, but apparently one who has joined the Dracorian occupation, given his fashion choice. The nationalist rebels would never dress like a Dracorian.
Oh, with time, everything will settle down. Settle in.
Hopefully.
Good to see.
Yeah. That's where you would pick him anyway. Yep. Everybody is aboard, apparently. And the ship will, in fact, start to make way. We are leaving the shores. We're leaving the capital on this caravel. How is that going to feel like when you're finally at sea, headed for weeks, in fact, towards the unknown almost?
Albert is very excited. Finally, put a face to all the books he's been reading about the islands.
As you are sailing away from Ockersand on the it takes a half an hour or so. It's a bay. The Tresilva Harbor is in a bay. And on the other side of the bay, you will see the red cliffs of Famqualvi, which might not always be a good sight for you. It is the headquarters of the Digitalunga, which is the secret service of Dracoria, like the MI5 or CIA or all that stuff rolled into one. One reason why it's called the Red Cliffs is allegedly because of all the people who've been thrown out of windows very high up and splattered their way down towards the ocean front, coloring the cliffs with red. Or so they say.
More KGB then.
Reason for that? Was that like an execution style thing, or?
I mean, when you don't have any use for the prisoners anymore, it's an easy way to dispose of them. The statue on top of the cliff is actually Castique, the goddess of prophets. You will note her many legs and arms. Brior can tell you that it was fascinating. When they were setting up this statue, there was a bit of a problem. The contractors who had been paid to set up this statue, they had been, shall we say, skimming off some of the metal that was going into the statue during the process of constructing it. And therefore, as they built it and completed it, the dimensions turned out to be all wrong, and the legs could not support her weight. So she folded over. But then the Great Pillar Father, who is of course the highest ranked of the Church of Castique, had a vision saying that Castique in fact did not just have 2 legs and 2 arms, she had 6 legs and 6 arms. They were able to stabilize the statue accordingly. Wasn't it fortuitous that he had that vision?
Indeed. Just to shows you that the gods are watching.
Really lucky.
The gods are always watching, aren't they? Yes.
And rather open-minded. That's also good to know.
Really good deal for all the people who bought the skimmed metal and then could sell it back to make the statue even bigger.
You know what? Baldur agrees with you completely. He's all like, all right. That's what I say. When you have a chance to close the deal, go for it. You know, the means justify the profits. Or no, the profits justify the means. Am I right?
don't catch you, it's a fair deal.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Alright. So how big is this fleet?
It's gonna be maybe a dozen ships altogether.
Okay.
Pretty decent.
Are they all similar, or do we have protection, let's say?
Oh yeah, you have protection. You have some goodly sized carracks that are there for your protection, that are escorting you. They're slightly slower than the caravels, of course, but what are you gonna do?
And where will we be landing at Palamux?
Oh, you're not gonna land at Palamux at all. You're going to
That's
Maryura,
fine.
which is not on this map.
We're heading straight out. Okay.
Not straight out. We're gonna go along the Paratornian coast here, and then having a couple of stops by Transmira, stopping at Easterker finally, and then across the North Sea. So that's how the journey will begin. You're gonna be very, I don't know how spoiled you're gonna feel when you get inside the ship itself, because let's face it, it's not very roomy in here, is it? Yeah. You can decide where you're gonna sleep. Who's gonna take what berth? You're gonna be here for a while.
Let's see.
Turns out that the young lady could not afford a cabin either.
I'll take a hammock at the back.
Why can't I? That's weird. Yeah, you'll take a hammock in the back.
Yeah.
And he says to Wild, the real test will be to see if the hammocks can sustain a Kirov for the journey.
That's a... Baldur is growling in happiness over this. Yeah, as you're coming down here, the young lady will in fact introduce herself. Hello everyone, I'm Perima. I'm also going to be down here, they say, from upstairs. The sailors told me I should take a hammock. I hope I'm not disturbing anyone.
No, not at all. Take whatever suits, whatever hasn't been taken. Welcome aboard.
I will do that, yes. She nods. Baldur is looking at her in a very appreciating fashion. She's young and pretty, after all.
Well, then Alveld shall join him in a discreet manner. Yeah.
Have you ever been to Maryura before?
Only in the mind and via the scrolls, but not actually. No, I haven't actually been there yet. I'm very much looking forward to it. Is it your first journey?
It's my first journey to Maryura, yes. But it's my second journey altogether. I'm going home. That's my home, yes. It's lovely.
Oh, then we shall get to know each other. I would like to hear everything about it.
Oh, I'm
You
happy
have
to
the
tell you
entire
everything
journey
about
to
it.
tell me.
I
He immediately
am-
starts plucking some empty scrolls and getting pens ready.
Brior will join in this particular group of curious people. Why is the token marked like that? I do not know. There we go. That's better. So yeah, yeah. I guess we're gonna have a group of 3 people. Baldur is gonna join anyway, just because Parma is there. I don't know about Wild and Kira.
Wild will join in too if she's going to talk about the place.
Yeah, Kira
You can
will.
ask about wildlife and
I'm happy
kind
to
of
share.
game there is.
She's now absolutely delighted. There's a huge smile on her face. Quick sidebar: in this game, there is no insight checks like you have in D&D. There is a heroic ability that will allow you to tell if a person is lying or not. But until one of you get that heroic ability, you'll just have to decide yourselves what you think about the person in question. I might roll their bluffing or persuasion and tell you how convincing they are. But that's all. Just saying. But she's going to be very enthusiastic and start, I'm happy to share everything about my home. It's very beautiful and very wild, not like this big city. It has been quite an experience for me to be here in Tresilve. It's very big and confusing to me. I prefer the wild myself.
It is
Too,
quite
says
a difference. Quite, yeah. So what brought you to the Grand City?
Oh, a part of my apprenticeship. I had to be here to learn more about the Tracorians and about the other faiths. I hope when I come home, I will go to my temple and become initiated into the greater mysteries of Kmorda.
Interesting. And he's just he's writing, he's scribbling away with a quill.
Yeah.
Would any of us know who that is, the god?
Myths and Legends 3 Banes. I'm designing the difficulties based on how reputable they are. Like, is this mainstream knowledge or very niched?
Even Halva doesn't know.
Even Hildur
oh, what's
doesn't
this?
know.
I have to choose a condition?
No, only if you want to push the roll.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, none of you have heard of this. Who knows? Maybe not
So,
even Brior has
who
heard
is
of this.
Kmorda?
Let's see if Brior might have heard of this. Not even Brior. Oh, terrifying. He who knows everything has not heard of this. Oh, Kmorda is the great spirit of the glacier. There is a great glacier that covers almost all of Maryura, and it protects us from evil. It speaks to us. And in the middle of the glacier, we have a temple. And there is also a shrine in Arhem, of course, where we help to heal the sick and wounded as best we can. The sacred ice helps cool the hotness of the fevers.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I've read something about this. Was your apprenticeship a success? I hope.
Oh, I
Or should
hope
I-
so, she says, looking down a little bit. My mentor, I'm afraid, she died in a fever in Tresilve. So I have been alone for a few months.
My condolences
Thank
on your
you.
loss.
Yes, it was very sad. But I will finally be a proper druid of the glacier very soon. What is your calling in this world? She's obviously turning to Halveld because Halveld is such a nice guy.
This is my calling. It's one of knowledge, gathering knowledge, inscribing it, sharing it, and they learn it as one open to learning and also an educator himself. That would be my role and my passion in the world. And I think we are off to Majora to further that passion, to learn more about the histories of your lands.
Oh yes, says Brior. The Tassambar Herbmaster once stipulated he went to your island of Maryura some, I think it was 25 years ago, and he discovered he was on the hunt for signs of an ancient civilization, but unfortunately he couldn't find any at the time. He could never prove to the other wise scholars of the academies that there was in fact high civilization that spread its imperial outposts and colonizing efforts to the northern islands of the Tracorian Empire. So therefore, Tassambar, let's say he has he put that theory aside for more studies on herbs and such. But it seems that there is promise. There's a rumor that someone actually found an artifact from Maryura, and this is why we're going now. So we can find definitive proof of a high civilization predating Trakorian colonization. Perima is listening to this, and big eyes nodding along slowly as he's talking, and eventually she will basically just say, well, good luck. I don't know anything about anything like that. I don't suppose you mean the Kvur, but I don't know that Trakorians would consider them civilized. Who knows?
We have the whole journey to discuss, and perhaps their descendants. It's very exciting
They're
to be there. in the
strange
flesh.
people. They live on the glacier for the most part, but they come and trade with us in our villages. Cars on fat and various furs. They're good hunters. And they've even managed to domesticate some of the buzzards, which is something I've never heard of anyone else doing. But don't know, they have difficult time speaking with in Yori. And I don't know they've ever built a civilization with houses and palaces and things like that. They live in tents for the most part, as far as I know.
What was this group called?
They're called the Kvur.
It would be of great interest to me to meet these peoples and just to see their ways. Who knows? Perhaps they are descendants. It can happen. It has happened before. They lose the knowledge they had and revert back to simpler ways. Perhaps this is the case.
Perhaps, yes. I'm very eager to show you my island, she says. It is so beautiful, and maybe you will have time to come up on the glacier too. It's very pretty and it's glistening white.
Sure, we can find a time. I'm sure we'll pass by.
Baldur is gonna be like, as generous as your offer is, young lady, and I sure wouldn't mind escorting you here and there, but we are here for scientific pursuit, and we need to bend our minds to that. We don't have a terrible amount of time. We need to find the artifacts and ship them back to the proper civilization as quickly as we can, and then, well, he's gonna nudge Kirov in the side a little bit, and then profits, eh? Many a profit.
Hero will just say,
That was...
yes, we must remain focused. And to help you do that, I'm going to build some partitions. And I was going to get some lumber, and just with his carpentry skills and tools, just divide up the area so we've all got our own section, and it's nicer, and we've got some privacy. And
It's almost like you have your actual cabins, but instead of an actual bed, you'll have a hammock.
Here, Kirov. Good man, good man. As Halva doesn't actually lift a finger to help and just sort of...
Brior can try, but he doesn't know the right end of the hammer.
Yeah, I think we'd all hurt ourselves.
He might take the hammer and compare the hammerhead's musical qualities to his various iron and steel, his metal samples, and listen into the harmonies that it might make. But that would be the extent
Harmony
of it.
fellow. Forgot. Yeah.
Oh, yes. If you get seasick, I recommend taking this. It's a half-inch of tin, and then you play it with just the right frequency. Let me show you. And he's going to start banging on it a little bit with his small hammer right next to your ear.
Oh, I think the rest of the journey, we're all going to be like staring into each other. Sort of.
And the rest of the journey it is. What are you going to do for a month? Locked into this place together.
I would probably be hunting his bow skills, trying to shoot rats on the ship with his bow and arrow.
I think the best chances you will get during the days is like various seabirds. The other two passengers. What was that?
Could practice our fishing, perhaps.
I mean, you could. That's a fair point. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, why not? None of you have a fishing rod, or do you?
Oh dear. There must be one on the ship. There must be a few on the ship.
Sailors hate eating fish.
Okay.
Hashtag absolutely not.
Oh, I do have a fishing rod.
You do have a
Hey.
fishing
He
rod.
does. Yes.
All right. Let's see if you're successful in fishing. You can definitely try.
Alright. Is there a fishing thing, or is that...
Oh, absolutely there
Yeah.
is. There's hunting and fishing. You can click on that if you want.
Okay, hunting and... Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Any banes or boons?
What does the fishing rod give you? I think it gives you something.
Do I have to click on it to...
Let's see now. Fishing rod gives you
Just
D4
D4
rations of food.
rashes.
Okay, no boons though. So yeah, no boons or banes. Just
Okay.
rations of food. Of course, you've already paid for your food, so look at that. Wild Wolfbane already starting to make a name for himself.
Yeah. So what was it, 1d4?
If you absolutely want to, yes.
Yeah, it's fish.
Yeah.
It's fit, yes. Though, is it gonna...
Fresh food
You
on
know,
this journey, thanks to our...
I'm gonna be a little bit evil and say, okay, we can keep that roll for the last day of the voyage, and then you roll a d4, because the fish you fish on the first couple of days of the voyage is not gonna keep to the last days of the voyage, unless you have a lot of salt to put it in.
I guess I won't keep it then. Or I'll keep it on the
you
last.
can roll
like
the
you said.
d4 for the last days of the voyage.
Okay.
That's fine too with me.
Yeah, look at that.
4
Ooh,
field
hey.
rations. Nice job. That's what we want to see. Right? Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Alright, I was looking for a thing. What thing was I looking for? Nobody knows but me, apparently.
That puts me over my weight limit, though.
Not a problem as long
we
as
have
you
a
are
cart.
on
We have
the
a cart,
ship.
eh? We have donkeys and a cart and everything.
Yeah.
Do we have a
That's
cart?
true,
Or just
yeah.
donkeys, I think.
Yeah, I'll put him on a donkey, I guess.
Put him on a donkey.
Yep.
The donkey is always right. Wait, what? No.
You have to say which donkey. We named them now, so now they have to.
Yeah.
we
That's
have
right.
to-
Name the donkeys.
it's not
Where can I
the
find their
donkey.
names?
Yeah. Where are they?
Grotto and Grotto. I should give you access to them, of course. So, owner.
private
Everybody
names.
is now an owner of Grotto, and everybody is now an owner of Grotto. Yeah.
You
well,
notice how one of them has a lot more bling than the other.
Potentially.
Favorites, but there will be signs.
Yeah. So, on your way, you are gonna pass up through past the Famqualvi and the Red Cliffs, overnight voyage, and as you're passing by, it's gonna be some days, probably a couple of days. At Min Mazuldra, there's a little bit of a bad weather and such, some repairs maybe. But you don't really want to go into Min Mazuldra here in Boria. And Brior can tell you why. He can tell you everything about everything. Oh, the entire province of Illiboria is struggling a great deal with addiction. It's called, it's a spice. It's called opiander. And it's apparently, I've never tried it and I never will, the best tasting spice in the world. The problem is it's so good tasting that you will not want to eat anything without it, and eventually you stop eating other food altogether and you just eat the spice, which normally could be doesn't sound harmful, but as it turns out, the Syntals have seen that it has acidic effects on your insides. So you will, over time, start bleeding from every orifice. And as if that wasn't the worst, you will also start hallucinating. And those hallucinations will take actual shape in the real world. And it can be very dangerous because they are often nightmarish. Nobody wants to make birth at Minbazul, given the city. What was that?
Let us not go there. It is a silly place.
It is, yeah. It's...
Or we could go there, buy as much spice as we possibly can, and in the finest tradition, start an OxyContin epidemic at the mining camp.
The sale and the buying and selling of this spice is, of course, highly legal everywhere in the Empire.
That never stopped Kirov before, I think.
Gotta try to buy and sell some opiander. Stealth checks required.
No, but he will think about it very hard.
He will think about it very hard. The night when
Clearly, I've recently been watching Dope Sick.
The night when you are staying outside the city, you can see there isn't a whole lot of lights. In this world, of course, there are oil lamps, and they're very much made use of. Sulfurium is the primary fuel for these lamps. It's an oil-like substance. But in this city, like Tresilva at night, there are light dots everywhere because there are street lights with sulfurium bottles in them that can light up the main avenues. There's everybody who has enough money to own a few of these lamps will have them lit in the evening. But this city is completely black in the night. There is no light in there, aside from some campfires and maybe 2 or 3 houses that are actually on fire. And apparently, the entire province is basically a narc den, let's say. Very miserable. Everybody has sold their everything just to get more of the substance. But you leave it behind you soon. Isn't that nice? To pop by Vumbra really quickly. It's a mining town, or I should say a smelter town. Also the naval base for the Tricorian Navy. There's plenty of heavy naval ships there to protect the export of ore from the Himbergon Mountains on Trismira. Everything is very sooty over there because of all the smelters and all the forges and so on.
Kirov may well have been here before, since he spent most of his life as an itinerant mining engineer around various mining camps, so...
That is entirely possible. The Tricorians are keeping a lot of guards up in the mountains because the rebels try to strike those mining operations. The mining operations are, of course, conducted with, shall we say, either slaves or people who had their sentence commuted from forced labor to work in the mines until they can't work in the mines anymore.
Basically, prisoners with jobs.
Yes. As one could also say, slaves.
Yeah, that's actually, there's a YouTuber called Perun who does both defense economics videos and gaming videos. And he has a running joke of calling slaves prisoners with jobs.
There is a difference in the sense that slaves are owned by someone else, whereas prisoners with jobs are still technically not owned by anyone. But they are forced labor for sure, I guess, if you want to split hairs about it.
So technically get paid for it as well, where slaves don't.
I don't think the prisoners actually get paid. Or at least not much.
Indentured servitude. I think that's the difference.
Yep.
One.
The Isakra Inlet, after about a week at sea, or 5 or 6 days, it's getting colder now, of course. This is more like a fjord on this very mountainous island. And I'm sure Halveld will be very curious to, and he knows about it too. Isakra has the biggest library, perhaps in the world. It's a weird little community, this one. On the one hand, you have the village itself. The villagers are not partaking in the library at all. The library is in fact run by the Etemenanki monks, who they have a shrine, a temple, which is like the all temple. So every single religion in the entire world is allowed to set up a shrine or a temple on those grounds. The only thing that is required in return is that they give a copy of their holy text to the librarians, which is why they have amassed such a big library. Brior would love to spend 6 months up in that library for his study of metals, but it is not to be this time, unfortunately. Another interesting feature of the Isakra Inlet is both the chain that goes across that you saw and the horns that are placed on some kind of mounds just by the seaside of the village. The temple itself is up on top of a mountaintop, and you get there by a gondola. But the village itself is climbing on the inside of the fjord, and there is a bunch of pipes going into the water. Brior can tell you that these are in fact horns. The local villagers, they have a competition, yearly competition, about who can make the best whale song. They blow into the horns into the water and try to produce the best whale song to attract whales into the bay. And when that is successful, they raise the chain behind the whale, bring it down, and sell whale flesh, the fat, of course, and everything that they possibly can. So that's the local economy, really.
Yeah, I bet as we're passing the chain, the metal music guy really wants to bang it with a hammer.
Yes. Metal music is awesome. Right, Wild? I don't know.
Very
That's a
Scandinavian.
good beat. Yeah.
After that, you leave Tracoria behind, and you sail for Maryura. 3 more weeks at sea at the very least. And it's going to be you and the ship, and boredom. Some, we've already said, some fishing.
So now that we're into
Ovel will
much...
be questioning Perima and documenting her any knowledge she has, which might be of use to our expedition.
She'll try to help you with that. I've mostly served with the shrine in Arhem town, and I've been up to the Druid temple on the glacier a few times, but I can't say that I've been invited to know the deeper secrets, of course, because I'm still just an apprentice. But I will happily share what I know. Please ask. Yeah.
It's just a month long writing things down. I was thinking that he has this ability where he can ask the DM. He has was it a talent or a feat?
Professional ability, yes.
Intuition,
Yeah.
where I can just ask you for, hey, what's the deal? So I was thinking that now he could be taking perhaps all sorts of notes and whatnot, and he could refer to that when he's making this intuition.
This is absolutely right. That's a good use of that particular ability, isn't it?
This would be the basis for that ability, I think, other than him
Yeah.
asking
So
the
she's
gods.
she's just filling you with information. Very happy to share. And I don't know, how is Kirov behaving in relation to Parima?
Oh yeah, Kirov is in on this conversation as well. And we'll ask her, lady, does your apprentice training also include the insubstantial arts? He's like asking if she knows magic.
The insubstantial arts. In short, yes. When I am with the glacier, I can listen to Kmorda and I can speak to Kmorda in my mind. And Kmorda sometimes give me blessings that I can give out to others as well.
You do anything away from the glacier? Could you do magic now?
No, I don't do magic. I am simply listening to the voice of Kmorda and channeling the power of Kmorda. Without Kmorda, I'm cut off, I'm afraid.
It's not magic. It's very different. It's a different.
Yes. It's you could say it's the will of Kmorda, she says.
Indeed.
It's obviously magic.
It's how you sell it to yourselves. I could imagine that Kirov is like, while Halvid's asking these questions, Kirov's asking sort of merchant-related questions about the things. Sort of, oh, yeah, what about this? What about that? And just making sure it's all being written down. And
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and also because I was suspecting she was an elementalist because she didn't seem to feel the cold. And didn't,
Oh, she no feelings of cold around here for her. No.
okay.
she can't she just doesn't feel the cold, but she can't actually create warmth. Because if she could, Kirov was going to charge the rich passengers to have her warm their cabins.
Apparently, all her blessings and miracles are related to cold.
But Kirov, if she could remove the feeling of cold, perhaps you could. That would also be something that you could charge. I don't know.
Kirov raises one eyebrow.
Not sure.
And we'll ask, is that something you could do? Could you make it so other people don't feel the cold?
Yeah, I can help you somewhat. It's not cold yet, she says, as you are out at sea and feeling the winds. She doesn't think this is cold at all. And this is... There we go. Actually, it's not quite cold. It's 22 degrees Celsius right now. I'm thinking it's slightly colder now the longer you get north, so maybe it's down to 12 by now, but she still doesn't think this is cold.
Okay, so Kirov is definitely going to save this for when it gets really cold. And we'll... I guess he's also on the journey. He's going to try, assuming the bureaucrat and the aristocrat don't just spend their time locked up in their cabins if they're ever out and about. We'll try and business with them about the sort of state of trade and administration of the island and any services they may need help with.
For sure, yes. It's going to be varying difficulty speaking to these people, I'm going to say. Let's put them down here properly, shall we? You will get to know the names, because it's impossible not to know the names of everybody on board when you're spending a month on the ship with them. And the noble is apparently called Travindr. They're the Homs, specifically. And the woman bureaucrat is apparently known as Nin, or Halaska, if you will. Madam Halaska. Or Miss Halaska. I don't know. And they have apparently very difficult tasks here. Nin says that she's simply here to... Let's see how... Sooner or later, you're going to have a chance to speak to them properly. Nin is an emissary of the Tricorian government. She's simply here on the way to Maryura to audit the taxes and the sulfur extraction, really. As an accountant, she's going to look at the books. She doesn't seem to be terribly happy with the job in question. Very often being cold. And, yeah, insulting the locals, I guess, because we're going to a place where there's absolutely no civilization. And he's Transmira, so he has a slight accent from that island. But he is very proud to be working with the Tricorian Empire, because that is where the future is. He is here. He's very curious. When you finally get to talk to him, I think this calls for a persuasion check from Kirov, I think. Let's go. Because Travindr doesn't want to speak to people who are of lower social class than himself.
I guess my fine garments do count for this.
They do, yes. You are accepted. Ah, fellow man of the trades, I see. At least Castique has seen fit to bless you, haven't she? That's a good sign. It's definitely you who are going to have to carry this conversation, though.
The mining trade's been kind to me, so now I'm going to the Empire's biggest and best. What brings you to the north?
That is an interesting coincidence, isn't it? I'm also going to inspect the mines, as it were. My family owns some of the mountains which are quite well off in terms of ore, but we do need to extract it more effectively, and I'm not sure that the laborers the Empire is sending our way is the best way of doing it. Or at least, maybe they can be enhanced in some way or another. They say that the camp, the sulfur camp, has some interesting methods. I'm very curious to find out how effective it might be.
Yes, my friend, labor is always tricky.
That they are, he says. That they are. Good. It's a difficult time to find good help for a reasonable coin. Too many of them laborers are trying to demand salaries that are quite frankly shocking these days. They should be happy to have a hovelin and some langok porridge.
There's so many opportunities for optimal engineering. You can work miracles if you know the rock, geology, the layers, how to get the drains and the ventilation just right.
Indeed, and I've heard much good of this new black powder people keep speaking of. Apparently, it makes short work of the rock, much faster than pickaxes.
Changed our lives in the mines. Got the ore out and the money in, nothing else.
You're clearly the man who is leading this current venture. If you need any advice on how to discipline your servants, I'm your man. Personally, I prefer the Catlin Nighttails and salt.
If you need any mining, engineering expertise, experience on every island in the Empire. Apart from the one we're going to.
I'm happy to hear it. Yeah, that's about the level of conversation you're going to have with this man. He is too noble to come down on the common deck. He's not supposed to be up on the quarter deck with the captain, but given how rich he is, he's definitely going to keep up there as much as he possibly can to stay away from the odor of sailors and laborers and such.
And also, I will have made the same sort of offer to Nin, since she's there to do the accounts of the mine. If she needs a set of eyes who have practical experience of the industry and may know what figures particularly mean, and to see where problems might be located, I'm available to help look over the books and explain details of the mining industry if she needs it.
I was already looking for a better job, just at anyone. Will you employ me for more money? Will you?
I think Nin will answer in fairly short sentences. Very good. I appreciate that. I doubt that I will need any such services myself. I'm simply an accountant. I work on behalf of the government. Let's see now, which part of the government was it again? Every branch of the Tricorian government has its own name. Each branch of the government is called the hand of the government, as it were. It has as many hands as Castique, so it's quite a few. This is important stuff for you to know. Let's see, here we go. It's 4 hands and 2 feet. Yeah. And she is working for the Goldfoot. Yes.
And what does the Goldfoot department take care of?
It's the revenue service.
Oh yeah, of course. He's doing the yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Kirov, you may want to keep your distance from her. Just FYI. Not sure you want to. You want to let her out.
Let her
Look
near
into
your books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other departments are, of course, Mana Shifa, the sword hand, which is the defense. Mana Friga, which is the cold hand, justice. Mana Extenda, the long arm of the hand, of the realm, which is foreign policy. Mana Finna, which is naval traffic and navy. And Podasnika, the front foot, which is trading.
Okay. Okay.
So now
Will there be a pop quiz later on? Is that
yes,
the-
absolutely, all the time. Let's see if we have anything particular happening here for y'all during this journey. It's 3 more weeks at sea after all.
I would like to ask, or at least bring up with Perima,
Of course.
oh gosh, the cult. Just
Oh, the Shagulites, I guess.
the Shagulites. Perhaps he indirectly, as much as possible, to see if she would come up with it.
That's the word, right? The Shagulites.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I know of the Shagulites. They have been on Maryura for as long as I live. They're a kind-hearted group of monks, very reclusive. They have a temple somewhere on the island, but again, very reclusive. And they also have set up a small hospital in Arhem where they treat sick people very kindly. We of the Druids have been working with them for many a long year now. They can be a bit strange.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. They can be a bit strange when you first meet them. The representative in Arhem is called Malik Mangus, and he doesn't show his face. He wears a mask for apparently religious reasons, he says. But he is a very knowledgeable man, and I'm sure people like yourself and Brior would be very interested in speaking to him.
So they're openly being Shagulites, just in everywhere. Just they're an open. Also in the main city. Is this in the main city as well?
Oh, yes, they have responsibility for the hospital.
The hospital is run by the Shagulites.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. And how long have they been, let's say, so open? I'd understood that they had been rather perhaps secretive, keeping to themselves, or is it never been the case?
Oh, not on Maryura. They have their own temple, much like we have our temple. We have different locations for our temple, obviously. But theirs is further inland. But they receive guests there from time to time. It's called the Iron Tower, I believe. I don't think they were the ones who built it, though.
Oh, really? So this was a previously existing tower, which they
Yes.
moved into.
I don't know exactly the history behind that. But as long as I've been, my entire life, they've been there. They've been helping us with attending on the sick and the wounded. And obviously, it's not a very big order of monks, very few. But I think they have a few more recruits. I remember at least some people coming before I left. 1 or 2 young people who were coming from the Empire with the fleet, with the convoy to join with the temple. And
This is very interesting information. Halveld is just going to go into detail about asking detail about this.
Can't
He's
say
rather
I've
interested.
seen them since, but I'm sure they are in good seclusion and meditation. They say that they study the secret of the human state, if you will. Have
Fascinating
conducted
stuff.
studies into humanness, and that is why they're so good healers, they say. And they are very good healers. I've seen it myself.
Oh, well, this is very interesting. That's okay. Well, and yeah, Halvard will just note this down and try and get as much information on ink.
But yes, very eccentric. It might... I think some people will find them a bit off-putting because of their strange habits. I don't want to judge anyone, of course. When someone has a different religion, you have to be open-minded to it. Yes?
I guess. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very. This has been most illuminating. Thank you very much.
I'm just realizing we should have stopped at the giant library and seen if they had the Shagulites scriptures.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
You didn't really have time to. The convoy
No.
was heading on.
I think we were just so busy tooting that horn to call whales. That was so much fun.
No, you were not allowed
No.
to toot that horn. That's strictly for Isakrans.
I'm sure Kirov could arrange it somehow.
Somehow.
But anyway, all right.
That's where you are. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, she had some things to say about those folks. But I'd be happy to introduce you to Master Mangus when we get to Arhem, if you like.
I believe we would be very interested, or I would at least. And yeah, off the record, what was our mission again? Exactly. We discussed all of them, and I remember a lot to do with Shagulites.
I put it into your... No, I did not. Oh my god, I didn't actually put it into the quest book, did I? Dang it.
We just couldn't make a decision, so we just like set sail there. Once we get there, we'll figure it out.
No,
We'll pick a
you
mission.
had decisions.
No, I know, yeah.
Your mission was to go to... Your secret mission was to find dirt on the Shagulites, to basically to serve the political plot of the nobles of Tracoria who want to dissuade to remove the Rasputin from court. So that's your secret mission.
Okay. No, okay. My spider sense on that was
find
correct.
proof that they're heretics and blasphemers, and maybe somehow sick the Animist Inquisition on them or something. Yeah, have them burned at the stake as horrifying heretics, basically. Yeah.
Is that the
And
case?
the cover story is that we're there looking for the ancient civilization.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. All right.
Why
We'd
haven't
be-
I put that? Okay, that was for
We'd
someone.
love an introduction. That's I've read so much about them. Very interesting. How they go about it and their peculiar habits and everything. It's never really been properly documented. I feel Halvard is the man for the job. But yeah, for Halvard, that's I think all he has extra for now.
Look at that. If you want to roll a Myths and Legends with a Bane, I'm going to allow you to, Halveld.
Oh,
Lore Master Halveld. See how good it is to have a scholar in the group? Just saying. If you were playing a
Tell me
fighter
everything.
instead,
Tell me
you wouldn't know
everything I've
anything
succeeded.
about this. You do remember the stories of the Shagulites from Trismira, the northern island, the one with the metal music, where apparently they used to have a heavy presence there. Apparently they were created there, like their founder created them there. Shagulites, they're named after their founder. But a century ago, the Animist Inquisition and apparently it was a popular uprising among the Transmirans as well, were chasing them away from the island with torches and pitchforks for blasphemy and heresies against the gods. So the Transmirans didn't like them much. Apparently they have polished their act since then, if the Maryurans can accept them.
yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, interesting that they're... Yeah, we'll have to be introduced and see what is going on. Sounds too nice. Sounds far too friendly. I don't trust him. All right, Kirov, Wolfman. Anything else?
Well,
Anyone up for any of Smickelboard? Smickelboard is this world's version of chess.
Obviously,
We'll try
Halveld.
it.
And
It depends who it's with. Halveld doesn't want to be willing to teach someone to play.
I think we can simply use a straight intelligence check for this because there's no actual ability or skill for Smickelboard.
I think Halveld against Brior would be an interesting.
It would
and then
be.
Kirov against
Yeah.
Balder. Those would be interesting pairs.
Let's go. Brior is rolling for Smickelboard test here. Let's go.
Dear.
5. You have to roll lower than that. You do not. Very sad. He beats you, but not by much.
No,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to play every night now. And
Clearly, yes.
It's on now.
It's
best
on
of
now.
31.
Can you allow him to win like that? Of course not.
It's because he moved first. We all know we move first. You have the advantage.
Yeah, that has to be it. Of course, there's a whole bunch of different variants for Smickelboard that you can use. Shall we say modded rules, depending on which region you're in?
Yeah. Oh, we'll have to play them all. Kill the time.
Yep. Baldur is not nearly as good at Smickelboard, obviously, because, frankly, he's not quite as good at strategic thinking as Brior. Kirov should never ever play Smickelboard. I'm sorry, Kirov.
Rob is going to play Schmickelboard.
Oh. Wow. Kirov is the winner of the Smickelboard tournament.
Look at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never
Very
rule
impressive.
Kirov out. Yeah.
Yeah. Parama's trying. But, okay. So if you roll a 20, you fumble. I guess she drops some... Oh my god, is she gonna drop some of the pieces overboard?
Oh, God.
She's just sitting there and just going like both hands to her mouth and going, I'm so sorry. Luckily, some of the other sailors will be able to replace the pieces with some woodworking over time. So it's gonna be fine.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah, and Kirov can also do all three crafts because he has all the tools. So I guess also on this journey, Kirov will set up his show, whatever, and anybody needs some metalwork, carpentry, or like leather work or clothes repair doing, Kirov can do it for a price, of course.
I can just see it now. Parts of the ships are disappearing, and the Kirov has a shop for it. Here, look, it's interesting items and.
Don't know if
woodwork.
he's that good, and I think the captain is keeping an eye on things, so the sailors aren't really allowed to use your services as such. Also, there is actually a carpenter, and there are artisans aboard who will take care of that. Yeah, an attempt is an attempt, right? You have to try. Baldur approves. This gets the Baldur seal of approval because the profits justify the means, clearly.
Indeed.
Yeah. A month at sea of boredoms and such. You will see, I guess, a lot of waves and the other ships in the convoy, the sails, sometimes on the horizon, sometimes closer up. How will you react to the whole being at sea situation? Why don't you roll a constitution check, everyone? See how seasick we might get. Oh dear. We
Yeah,
have...
Halvard gets a bit seasick.
Yeah. But not Wild. Wild is fine.
Nope.
You don't know what the hubbub is about. It's gonna
It's
take...
Wild just like out on the bowsprit doing the whole "I'm king of the world" thing, while West is throwing up over each side.
I'm the king of the... I'm the alpha of the world. I'm the pack leader of the world.
You're heading into the ocean. Now it's all my territory.
Yes, literally that. Howling at the moon at night. Yeah.
He's like at the mast. There's a little crow's nest. He's settled in there with you.
Yeah, of course you're going to have some bad weather on the way, and at that point, some of you are lying in your hammocks and just regurgitating whatever you had eaten the day before. Aplenty, because the wind is blowing and everybody's going to offer a prayer to Anxalis, goddess of the deep, to not drag you down into a watery grave. Please. The cargo might shift a bit during this stormy weather. And the next day, of course...
That wasn't the cargo shifting. Kirov just rolled over.
That might have consequences for the cargo, though, if Kirov moves. The cargo shifts. Baldur will take the opportunity to make sure that the cargo is properly stowed. Yeah, you can't be too careful with these things. If it shifts, it might break the boxes and our crates, and that would be a big problem. We have to be careful. If we don't have crates to ship all our artifacts back into, less profits for us, no? Brr.
Rolls his eyes whenever he talks.
Actually, does lead to a question that we maybe should have asked more questions of later. Is the motive for this is profit and not just knowledge for the sake of knowledge? Exactly how does the business model work? How is this going to pay off, supposedly?
Oh, if you're asking Baldur, this is definitely all about, simply just a contribution for knowledge and for just helping the academy. Yes, maybe I can land myself a contract or two with the academy later on. Yes. Also, there are always people up in who would trade with someone who comes from the Empire. I have a crate put away so I can sell some while Brior is taking the leadership decisions, while you're all setting up things for transports. I am simply the master of logistics for this travels, no? I make sure your crates are all finely stowed and properly packed, yes?
We should have bought some fine liquor to bring and trade.
I have some fine liquor. He will give you a bottle. Not give you. He will share a bottle with you. You see? This is Malukian wine. It will fetch a wonderful price when we get to Arhem, I think. The nobles in the garrison, they must be starved. But we'll not drink this now, no. He's gonna bring out maybe some Safinian beer, actually. It's an excellent beer, mind you. The Safinians are amazing at brewing, for those who care about such things. And they have the best grain as well. Yeah, the best malt and hops and everything. Yeah, you can share some of that. And obviously, nobody's going to be drinking water on this ship. You take it you have some beer or some ale, and you add some water to it to make it last a bit longer. But this is medieval times, and people get sick if they drink water from a barrel, right? That's not a good idea.
Kirov will clink the bottles and say, "Harder the life, the better the luxuries sell."
I'll drink to that.
Alden is immediately suspicious about this man saying he's doing it just purely for knowledge, considering how everything is about the profit. He's gonna slide over while these two are perhaps having a drink and slide over to Wild. And he's going to he keeps on referring to this luggage or there's an equipment that's stored. Would you think might be think it would be a good idea if you were to have a look and just have a look through the cargo and see what this man has brought with along?
Who are we talking to?
The Wild.
Oh,
Yeah, I'd be up for that. Kind of getting bored anyway.
So perhaps
The only-
you could do that while he's busy and
Yeah.
see what this man is. He seems what he's so worried about. What is he bringing?
I don't know. I would know enough about archaeological tools to really recognize what they may be, but
Yeah, but the thing is, if it looks like tool, okay, then it's tools. But Halvid's suddenly curious about maybe there's, I don't know, other things or, yeah, see what this man has brought to the expedition. And Halvid thinks you're the man to, or wolf, or dogman,
you're
wolfman.
the wolf to do it.
You're the wolf to stick your neck out, to sneak it, to
Take
have
my
a look.
pelt out.
Stick
Yeah.
your snout out.
Should you be so inclined? Yeah.
There are a couple of difficulties with this, of course, if you want to try this. Particularly on the ship, because it's so cramped. Baldur will go up on deck regularly during the days. It really depends on the weather. If the weather is decent enough, he's definitely going to be up there until it gets too cold to be up there. But who wants to sit inside a cargo hold 24/7 for a week? That's not so much fun either. So every once in a while, just to not go get cabin fever and start climbing the walls, someone wants to go topside and just get a little bit of fresh air. The tricky bit is all the cargo right now is carefully stowed. So there's going to be ropes and tackles and everything that has bound all the chests and the crates and the barrels and what else into as tight a packed formation as possible, so the cargo doesn't shift in case of storm. So you would have to undo the ropes and the tackles, drag out the crates in question one by one, there's a lot of them, and then break into them with a crowbar, which I'm sure you have, but it's going to be a bit noisy. An alternative could be, said the GM, is to wait until you actually land and the cargo has been put on ashore.
Yeah.
Might be slightly easier to do it then, because at that point you're no longer on a ship and you don't have to worry about things like how well secure you, because you have to pack up the crates again, right, and stow them in a safe place again, because if the cargo shifts and breaks out, someone might notice. So there are some factors like that to take into
Okay, so
consideration.
Halvid suggests this, and then Wild suggests, yeah, how about no? How about no?
Yeah.
All right, and we have
once we
lockpicks.
land and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hold that thought for 30 days.
Exactly. Halville does have 18 intelligence, so I think he's the master schemer in the group, isn't he?
There's a lot of theoretical scheming, and then there's Wild is perhaps more actually to get things
pretty
done.
smart, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, hand smart, yeah. Okay, so Hal is the guy who has read all the books, and Wild is going to say, this is a thing for a handyman, someone who's working with their hands, which is absolutely not what you are. Because Hal does not have calluses on his hands, does he?
No, wait, a little bit here from his quill. There's just a little bit.
From his quill. Right.
Sometimes he has quill burn. It's quite serious, and he can't write for a while.
Oof, quill burn. That is the worst. It's sailors who are working with the rope all day, and maybe if they let go of the rope, they get rope burns, but that's nothing compared to a quill burn. I sympathize deeply. So much.
Paper cuts can be killer.
The
really
pen
is.
is mightier than the sword, so I hear. That's
Okay, we shall rest it that idea for a while.
Pin on it for right now, but
Yeah, exactly. Okay, fair enough.
very well. A full month at sea. We are gonna get closer to the island, aren't we? Eventually. Took you long enough. I don't know what everybody's opinions are about the journey at that particular time, when you're getting close to the end of it, as it were. Tired of it?
Considering I'm seasick, yes. That gets old real quick.
It doesn't it?
Yeah. Sea's no fun being seasick because the sea doesn't stop. So
It
once you get
doesn't. It is, yeah.
and then I've got I've got wilds like throwing fish in my face the whole time. Here, fresh fish.
Here, fresh fish. Oh my.
And Kirov maybe reaching the level of desperation with the seasickness that he tries to build a gyroscope in the ship that's big enough to sit in that neutralizes the movement so you feel like you're staying still.
I doubt
invention of
you
the
have the
gyroscope
materials to do
by
that.
Kirov.
Though the intention and the attitude is appreciated. We like the notion here. So, you have been at sea for about a month over cold waters, when, in fact, at the horizon, you can see the cliffs, the very jagged cliffs, the coastline that is protruding out of the mists, out of the fogs around here, like a threatening, almost living entity. The convoy that you've been with is finally getting to its end. The colony of Arhem at the furthest most outpost towards the north, and beyond which these endless Arctic wastes will start. The entire convoy spends the entire morning basically sailing north and towards these very not at all inviting cliffs that is the island of Maryura. You can see the glistening white of the glacier, and you can hear, of course, Perma just absolutely clapping her hands for joy, jumping up and down, and she's pointing towards the glacier and going, "Oh, look, it's Kmorda, the glacier! Kmorda, look how beautiful it is!" I don't know if you think it's beautiful. It's up to you.
It looks very cold.
Very white.
It's icy, that's for sure. Very icy. Your ships will turn in towards the fjord. Is at the deep end of the fjord, as it were. You have to go all the way into the fjord to get there. And you know what? I think wild, you have a fairly sensitive nose, don't you? Being a wolf.
I would hope so.
Yeah. You feel it first, I think. It smells.
Like
Sulfur? Brimstone? Which smells
Sure.
like very old rotten eggs.
Does it all smell like this?
Yes, only in Arhem, though, she says. Because of the sulfur works they are extracting from the swamp. And I don't know that you would like this too much, Wild, as the ship is slowly making its way up now. They're almost bringing up the sweeps here because you're going into the actual fjord here. The water is slightly yellowish. There's like foam, yellow foam on top of the water that is coming out of the fjord.
There's muck, there's brass.
And gold, perhaps. Mohaha. Arhem itself. Yay. It's a metropolis, isn't it? The first time you have seen any type of human habitation for weeks and weeks it's a month or so at sea. Turns out it's a village. How many people could live here? 500 or so? Don't know. Over the stockade that sits on top of the mountain on one side, it's basically two hills with a small stream between them. And the stream is literally yellow from all the sulfur and brimstone and waste products. And it's smelling horribly. This entire town is just like it has a haze of this smell over it. It's gonna get stuck in your, Wild, you are officially nose blind right now. Your nose is completely useless at this stage. It's just overwhelming, the stench of the sulfur. There are, on one side of, there's like a southern and this southern sort of shoreline, a northern shoreline. There's a bunch of folks there looking at you, of course, because it's a novelty. This is the convoy. It only comes twice a year. But the people who are standing there, they're dressed in very coarse, practical, woolen, furs, and other maybe leathers, some strange leathers that you haven't seen much of, and mostly dressed in grays or browns or dirty whites. They don't have a single smile among them. Not one. Not even the children are smiling or screaming in excitement on that side of the fjord. But on the actual pier, the more well-developed piers next to fairly large warehouses, there are a lot of happy people. You can see merchants. Some of them have finer clothes than others. There are merchants of every sort of rank here, from I am just selling whatever is on my back, on the big rucksack on my back, to representatives of actually large, significant merchant houses. You can see, in fact, Kirov the Large, you are a merchant yourself. I think you will recognize the banners of two very significant merchant houses fluttering in the wind above two of the warehouses. One is the house of Shagulites, which of course is the merchant house that does have a monopoly on the sulfur trade. They are very well off because of that, of course. The other is the house of Mogger, which is another very important merchant house in the Tracorian trade system. They are actually owned by Mallards. It's a Mallard-run merchant house. You can see the merchants there. Some of them are, of course, thoughtfully stroking their beards as they are eagerly expecting goods that will come with your very convoy. You will see a jester or a troubadour or minstrel who's playing on the pipes. There are, of course, also the ladies and gentlemen, really, of ill repute who are standing in as thin dressed as they possibly can, given the weather, because sailors haven't seen shore for a long time and are probably going to be very eager to take their services, use their services the moment they get ashore. And they are therefore displaying their goods as much as they possibly can without being too cold. There's some trappers as well. Some of them have more teeth than others. And you will particularly hear a cheer going up from a group of soldiers who are currently not on duty. No doubt because this is this is the end of their term on Arhem. In Arhem, they are going to take this convoy back to the Empire. Isn't that nice? For them.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, so on this way, Kirov will have got. Will want to get the donkeys off the boat first before any other cargo, and we'll make whatever arrangements are necessary for that to happen. Because there is lots of cargo and lots of people who want to get their cargo off the boat and into somewhere in town, or from town onto the boat. We have donkeys and they can pay for their use.
That is a fair point. That is a fair point. Before anyone is actually allowed to go ashore, of course the anchors are being let go, and the sailors are also going to celebrate because they made another crossing without dying. This is a good thing. But before any of you have a chance to actually go ashore, you will have to wait, because the first ship to get to the pier and to disembark anything will be the ship that carries, apparently, the convicts. You didn't know, but here they are. Yeah, so they're being hauled into the longboats, one after the other. You can see the chains rattling. It's a chain gang, literally. And one by one into a longboat, onto the pier, and they are being hauled up onto the pier, where someone there has a fairly large cauldron and is basically force feeding them. There's a guard who's opening their mouth, and then they're just pouring down whatever swill it is. The convict in question will writhe and spit and gurgle a bit, but something goes down. And you've been asking Travinder about things before, so he's going to be happy to explain to you. Ah, yes. See, this is why I've come here to study. He's looking at you here, Kirov. You see, that there is zombie. Nobody could do that horrible work out in the sulfur camp, even if you had cat nine tails swinging over your back. It's miserable conditions is what I hear. So they drag all the prisoners with zombie, and then they become very malleable and very easy to handle. Excellent invention, that potion, I think. Tastes horribly, apparently. Nobody would drink it voluntarily either, as far as I know.
Kirov nods slowly. There is one way to do it.
Yeah, even at this distance, you can tell how their faces go completely slack. And then they are ordered to walk that way, and they start walking that way. They just do whatever they're told.
And this potion is only on this island, used on this island? Or is it a...
Oh no, not at all. Actually, Brior will fill in, because he is the lore master. Your living library, as it were. Not at all, not at all. No, it was invented on Safina. The Safini are famous for their potion-making skills.
Okay, but it's used to get the miners to do their thing. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
There is, if you look away from that particularly horrible scene, there is some beauty. The glaciers that are glittering in the cold sun. There will be a couple of blasts of trumpets and a herald, a town crier. I don't know. What do you want to call it?
Yeah, town crier.
Town crier makes sense. This is not very big.
Is coming out to. He's dressed in the colors of some noble house, I guess. He's gonna speak with very loud voice. Lord Commander Gotthard Damelse, Primus Procurator and Imperial Bailiff of Western Maryura, extends his greetings and bids traveling folk welcome to the Tracorian port of Arhem, and speaks thusly. You have deemed it wise to journey to Maryura, even though storms and the wrath of the winds scour this accursed land where no comfort of mankind is to be found. So be it, for every man best forges his own fate, and many seek the Empire's new harbours for honour and riches. Gotthard Damelse has little wish to test your resolve or pry into your intentions with petty gossip. only let the following be firmly fixed in your minds. Dracorian law holds in Arhem for men and beast folk alike, as well as any customs the bailiff's office finds proper. Thus any who dare disturb the Empire's sulfur trade shall suffer punishment by silver, sword, or lash, as is their due. Perhaps you come enticed by tales of hidden grave gold hoards in Maryura's wild wastes. To this I say, had such bounty existed, Gotthard would have long since claimed it. Perhaps you seek the lair of dragons. To you, would-be heroes, it shall be said, the serpent, Bloodifagus by name, has in its old age sought peace and must not be disturbed. To oversee the dragon's tranquility, the scholar Magister Traudax Draconicus of Tresilva has been appointed by imperial decree. Further, let it be known that without explicit permission, under penalty well defined, none shall trespass the marshlands to the east, where the slaves' dwellings lie. And know this, from every yield reaped from Maryuran land or water, the bailiff holds the right to take a tithe on behalf of the Dracorian Empire. Likewise, the Empire shall claim 1/3 share of any findings in ore, springs, or other fruits of the earth. Thus greets you Lord Commander Gotthard de Melsa, and bids peace among good men and beast folk alike.
Just imagine that this guy has to have one of those beards that's like
Much.
sideboards that come down to and join the mustache.
Yes, clearly. And then there's this little chin pointing out in the middle. We're here, you guys! We're in Arhem! Woohoo! How does it feel? You got there. You didn't die yet.
I think well, first he's seasick, and then he's seasick, and he gets off the land, and he's surrounded by this horrible sulfur smell.
Oh yeah. That's the worst, isn't it?
Because, okay, the sulfur swamps are right next to the city, because I was wondering how close that is. So that is right next to the city.
That is where you are right now. Right down by the piers to the merchant quarters. You will notice something else as well. Like buildings on the north side of town, they're all made out of stone. And most of the buildings by the fjord, by the firth, on the south side are also made out of stone. But once you start climbing up the south hill towards the actual stockade, the buildings are made out of wood. And also are multi-story made out of wood. Kiro, of course, being the merchant who always can detect patterns of wealth, can conclude that poor people live in stone houses, rich people live in wood houses around here.
Okay.
That's an interesting way round.
Yeah. I guess wood is a rare resource here, so then it would be associated with wealth, perhaps.
Yeah. There's also something odd about the sort of next to the glaciers when you're looking into the distance, like by the horizon. It looks like a cloud that has calcified in a valley between two mountain peaks. It's really weird. It doesn't move. It's not actually a cloud. It's just some kind of white... Wait, really big cotton? Irma told you about this. It has to be the forest of giant white moss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Kirov, perhaps I think you could find us a good place to stay in the town.
There's only one tavern.
Oh, wow.
It's very simple.
Then first, I guess we would just scramble to the tavern as quickly as possible, get the rooms, drop all our stuff off. Then the donkeys are unloaded and Kirov can start profiting from his donkey drayage business.
That sounds good. All right. So, Yeah, the tavern. It's gonna take you a little while to unload everything, probably about an hour or so. And as you're getting onto shore, there's gonna be a lot of people approaching you of all sorts. Oh, buy your fuzzard coats here. Buy your fuzzard coats here. Perfect. The genuine fuzzard leather. We'll keep you warm. We'll keep you warm, I'm telling you. Buy your Carson fat here. Perfect Carson fat. You just smear it, much cheaper than that leather jacket. You just smear it on yourself and then you'll be warm for weeks. Here, smell some. Puts a jar of fat under your nose and it just smells horrifying. If Wild wasn't already suffering from the sulfur stench, the Carson fat would just... Ugh.
I'll just snarl at him as he walks past.
It turns out you are not the only wolfkin here, Wild. There are others here. Yeah.
Because merchants or...
Nope, not merchants. These guys, they are dressed in very comfortable leathers and furs. They have white sort of rabbit fur beret with a red wolf's head on top. So they're clearly part of all the same unit. Must be a mercenary outfit. They have quivers, longbows. Some of them have two-handed swords on their backs. Sturdy boys, yeah.
Are they marching around and what?
Of course they
context
are.
do we see
Some
them?
of them are off duty. They're as curious about the merchants or arriving as anybody else.
Is there one that seems to be like the leader or...
Of course there would be, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
The poor Tricorian soldiers who
Go
have...
up to him. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
okay. You want to talk to one of the Reavers?
Never mind. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, there are Tricorian soldiers on duty today as well. They have spears and, they have sidearms as well. A leather jerkin, really. And they're going to try to keep order around here if anyone is throwing a fist or whatever. But otherwise, they look mostly envious with a lot of jealousy on the veterans who get to go home. That was not their lot this time, unfortunately. Sad. Very sad. What other people? Oh, the ducks. The mallards. The finest mallards you've ever seen, probably. Or at least one of them would be. Look at this young fella. Can you beat that fashion sense? There's nice feathers everywhere.
Just start to salivate and lick his lips.
No, you don't eat sentient creatures. Lipstick all over the beak. So many necklaces that could keel over if you push him a little. He's prancing about there and looking at various goods and going, nah, not good. No, not good either. Nah. There are more dignified mallards around too, but that one catches the eye more maybe than anyone else.
Okay. Let's see. I think Halvard would be interested first in getting exactly a room and whatnot. Have we been stowed away, or is that still...
No, you can definitely go to the...
Oh,
the
and...
tavern. There's literally one square. Param, I can tell you that most of the Maryurans live on the north side, and most of the foreigners live on the south side. So there's a clear divide in terms of who lives where. And as she goes off the pier, she's lying down and putting her ear towards the ground and sighing deeply and smiling a bit. And then she'll look up at the rest of you and say, "It was a genuine pleasure to travel with all of you." And she will give each of you a little kiss on the cheek probably Kirov the most because he's the nicest, right? With Charisma 13. And I will go now to my shrine and talk to my siblings of the temple, of the shrine of my order. You will find you will find a young master Hildur's just at the town square. It's only a 10-minute walk up that way, she says, and points towards number 2 on the map. And if you have any questions at all, I'm very happy to help you. You can find me at the shrine on the north side. And thank you again for all the
We'll
great
look for
company
you sometime. Thank you.
and the conversations, she says.
Oh, for sure. Thank you for your company, and we will definitely pass by during our stay here.
Thank you so much. So she's gonna leave for the moment. You will, of course, notice that Nin and Travinder have their itinerary as well. So now it's down to you and Brior and Baldur, the original group again. Yeah. Isn't that nice?
All right. Let's see.
We'll wait until they're unloading all the stuff and try and see if he can blend in with that group, act like he's helping out, and try and single out Baldur's luggage.
Oh, Baldur's luggage. Are we doing sneaking checks? Is that what we're doing? Sounds to me like you're doing a sneaking check.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
I guess I would. Yep.
You succeed. Look at that. I guess it's gonna have to be opposed because it's after all, it's Baldur and he's trying to keep track of his own little things, isn't he?
Halvad wants to be a bit of a distraction, and
Yeah, you'll see if you can throw some interference. And,
Very well.
So, Baldur, what do you know about these ruins that are here and whatnot? You seem to be quite motivated, interested. So, done your own research?
Halveld, what do you have him bluffing?
I'm gonna bluff and say it's very high. No, hang on. My bluffing is 5.
It's terrible, in other words.
It's really bad.
How about
still
But
like
you know what?
what, a
But-
25% chance?
No, hang on. I'm going to use my ability for being a human now. Huh? I'm going to start using my superpowers.
Or you
I'm
could
going
have
to
used
use
hero.
adaptive,
What was that? What are you going to use
Okay,
instead?
the highest skill I can find. Let's see, Beast Lore. No. I'll use skill.
So we're clicking on the ability adaptive. Left click on that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. And then how does
then
it
just-
work?
Yeah, so you click on the ability adaptive and click yes to spend the 3 willpower points. So they get checked off properly.
3 willpower points. Is that where on the sheet? Because
The first tab, the main tab,
oh, I'm sorry. I was
and
on
there
the-
you have abilities adaptive.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. I use 3 willpower, and then I will try to like lose him, make him a bit lost. I'll use my myths and legends.
Very good. You're telling tall tales of elder times. Let's see if you
this
can
is my-
succeed. Very
Yeah.
good. Baldur is apparently captivated by your talk here. Yeah. Let's see.
I'll put emphasis on the riches. Sort of, they were known to have all sorts of this and that.
I'm going to give him an awareness check with a Bane because of your interference. How about that?
Right. Thank you.
As the Wolfkin is trying to... Okay, that was not so good for him. I think you managed to say something. You don't exactly know what it is, but it just sets off his great laughter, like the greatest belly laughter that he can pull off, which of course sounds like a big growl because it's coming from him. And he is just absolutely folded over double, and there's like tears coming out his eyes as he's just smashing the back of your shoulders and your back possibly so hard that you're stumbling forwards a little bit, which gives Wild the best chance to sneak up to the crates. What are we doing with the crates? How are you going to break open the crates and check what's inside them?
How will I do that?
How
There's
will
no
you do
lock
that?
picking thing. Is there?
That would be sleight of hand, but that's for lock picking, I guess. This is like a crate that's been nailed shut, right?
Yeah. Could I use my longsword as like a crowbar?
I guess you can. Not entirely, because it's not an actual crowbar, so no.
Okay.
Let's give you, let's see now.
Or a grappling hook, I could use that kind of.
A crowbar is a crowbar, right? That's the... But don't you have a crowbar in your equipment somewhere? Let's see, on the donkeys. Giotto has a kick and not a crowbar. And Grotto doesn't have anything at all. So no, you don't have a crowbar. Yeah,
Oh, we do
you
have a
problem
shovel.
here.
Shovel might work. Or a pickaxe has that side on it. Has a
Fair enough.
spike that
Okay,
also
I'll
has
give
this
you
side.
I'll give you a sleight of hand
Pickaxe.
with your dagger, I guess. You have a knife after
Okay.
all. You can try
Yes,
shove
yeah.
it, shank it in there. Because you don't have the proper equipment for this, it will be a negative die.
Okay.
A-
Bane. Okay.
We're fresh out of Call of Cthulhu here, folks, so we call it negative die every once in a while, right?
Yeah. My sleight of hand is not great though, so here's hoping.
It's amazing.
Ooh, that's. Oh, it
Yeah,
worked.
succeeded.
It's not a fail. And if you had that 2 once, you would have had a critical success, but unfortunately not. Okay, you have in fact managed to lift some of the boards on one side there, and you can put your hand inside the hay, really the packing material, and yeah, you're gripping a shovel, you think, the handle for a shovel, probably.
I knew it. I knew when they were first loading the crates on board, and he was saying this is delicate scientific equipment. I just knew it was going to be a shovel.
Delicate scientific equipment, I'm telling you.
Okay, all right.
Does it feel like an expensive shovel?
I don't think you can judge it just by touch.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'll casually set it back down and kind of sneak my way back.
Very well. Is this what we're gonna try to make our way to the tavern, or?
Do we have any sort of? Did we have anybody we were going to be contacting?
Nope.
Or is
I
this-
suppose I wanted to talk to the other wolfkin to see what their deal is.
Right? Yeah.
Like, what's the pack doing this far north?
They'll just working.
Why do you wear the same uniform? Wasn't expecting other wolfkin up here.
I'm gonna look at you a moment there, and is this gonna be an assertion of dominance situation?
Let's see how they handle it. I'm not gonna take no shit, that's for sure. So
You watch yourself. New meat.
don't threaten me, I just asked a question.
We're the Reavers.
That means what to me?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I'll just kind of, grunt and then just walk back to him.
Yeah, there is
Alright,
some
go to the
growling
tavern.
and some. We only accept the best. So go. They have sturdy swords, good longbows. They probably know what's what.
All right. So are you tucking your tail between your legs, or?
No, I'm not doing that's for sure, but
Okay.
I'll just turn and leave. Spit at the ground at their feet or something.
Huh? They will spit right back.
Just escalates and everybody keeps spitting until they're all dehydrated.
Do you want to challenge them to any kind of thing here, or what?
I feel like I have to now.
Oh my. Okay.
I'll just go. There's no reason to disrespect me. I offer no offense.
Yeah, they will let you be. You're not the first wolfkin to come up here, and you're probably not going to be the last either. So, we are making our way up to the small tavern. It is really cramped, to be honest. It's just ridiculously cramped. It's the only tavern. It's on the town square, because of course it is. It has a nice little boar head as a symbol, like on the sign outside, and it's a very smiling boar with one big tusk, and it says "Young Hildurs" with big letters there. And as you get in there, yeah, there's a nice big fire in the hall, which is not a very big hall necessarily, but it is a hall, and it is a tavern. And
Oh boy, everyone's from the same family here.
I just can't. Are you seriously asking me to make a picture for every single patron from Maryura? That's a lot.
Big gene
I'm a
pool,
little
huh?
disappointed. That's all. Nothing. Just no. I'm just kidding.
Dude,
That's-
demanding is what you are. Demanding. It's a young lass, of course, walking between the tables, serving. She's, what, 17 or so? And a jester who is 5 foot tall, spindly thin. His skin looks like it could rupture if you just poke it, basically. That's how thin it is. And he's doing somersaults while everybody ignores him, except maybe some foreigners, because you're not going to be the only people who are coming in here, right? There's a lot of trading right now outside on the square, town square, but it's only a matter of time before the hustle and bustle from the port and the warehouses will be coming to this place as well. I guess
As we've been coming up the hill towards this place, Kiro's been looking more and more impatient. And as soon as we get in here, he's going to unload everything off the loaded donkey and just leave it with you in the inn and go back outside to see how much money he can get moving loads for people with the donkeys. And as he's doing it, he'll talk to them and get as much information about what's going on in the town, like what trades like, what sort of goods and skills are in demand, and all that good merchant stuff.
all the good merchant stuff. Kirov is off to a good start. Why don't you roll a bartering check? Let's go. I don't think you're going to make a ton of money doing this, but maybe even a silver decory or two could find its way into your pocket.
And do fine garments count?
What was that?
Fine garments count for this?
Of course it does. It fails.
Oh, okay. This first deal cannot go this badly. He's going to get his intelligence sucks, and he doesn't use intelligence much anyway, so he can just be getting more and more annoyed and can push it.
So you're going to click angry, and here we go. So this is how it works when you fail a check. You can choose a condition that you will get in exchange for re-rolling and getting a second chance. And now Kiro has the condition angry, which means that he has a bane, so a negative die, on all intelligence-related skills. Which, of course, he doesn't use anyway, so it's kind of low effort there. But you will notice that your token is now marked angry, Kiro is muttering to himself. But he does succeed, finally. So I guess I'm going to throw some silver decor your way. 3 of them. How nice.
Any information as well, since he was talking to people?
There are some rumors about town, aren't there?
I'm sure he could get along well with the Mallards as an angry merchant.
There's definitely mallards around here, yeah. Don't know, they're very nicely dressed too. They're of the House of Muggers. They're rich. You might want to speak to them. Probably not the young one though, because the young one is mostly interested in fine spirits, let's say. But the older muggers might be more interested, yeah. Look at these fine mallards, huh? Here we have dignified people, I'm telling you. Oh, the stinky town of Arhem. Let's see. What might happen for you here? And everybody else is just heading to the tavern?
Yeah, getting their orders in for dinner before the rest arrive.
And also, if you want to have an actual bed, that's
These
a
things.
thing you might
Exactly.
want to order. Kirov, I want you to roll an awareness check, please.
And I get nailed by being angry immediately.
Dear. Is that,
Yes, you do.
I rolled
That
a
is
dragon and a demon.
You rolled a
wow.
dragon and a demon. That is like an average roll, but it's also a very extreme roll at the same time.
that sounds like Kirov. Very much.
Doesn't it, though? You're a lucky person. Someone else shouts thief for you, even as some street urchin is literally cutting the cords to your purse and running away from you. Holds the purse in the hand, Kirov, and is running into the crowd.
Go after them.
Yep. I guess
Roll me an acrobatics check to chase after.
Question on my hunting instincts. It says I can designate a creature in sight. Would that count as a human?
Absolutely, but you're in the tavern right now because Kirov went off on his own.
Oh, that was outside. Okay.
Dear.
Another demon.
Yep.
Yeah.
The demons keep coming. The good news when you're rolling a demon is that you do get a skill check towards the end of the session. So you might actually level up the skill. Speaking of which, we're getting towards the end of the session. So you have arrived at Arhem. You've already been robbed. Everything is great, isn't it? Yay. And we're going to go straight to how to develop your character, because we have gotten through the first session of your adventure. You have arrived in Arhem, everyone! How does it feel to be in the polar wastes where it's like just above freezing on a spring day? The puddles are actually liquid now. Alright, so this is how experience counts in this particular game. Let's bring up your sheets here. We'll start with Halveld. Did you participate in the session?
Yes.
That's one check mark. Did you explore a new location? You've reached a new location. We haven't really had time to
Yeah.
explore it as such.
And
Shall I be
And
nice?
on the ship, we passed by some areas, some cities. Not really explore.
That's not really exploring.
But
In the ocean,
We
the
explored.
ship.
You know what? You saw a lot of new areas just by the journey, so let's go with that. Did you defeat one or more dangerous adversaries? Not really, I don't think.
The sea. No. Okay.
No, not really. Did you overcome an obstacle without using force?
I don't think. Was there a?
You
Don't think
distracted,
you had any obstacles really.
It was not the most obstacle
Baldur.
intense session, was it? Did you give in to your weakness of being afraid of magic? No. So this gives us 2 check marks that you can put in any of the skills on your sheet. In the little, if you go to the skills tab and you click it in the little square, and you can put anywhere.
I think I will put it in one in persuasion, and I'll put one in seamanship because he's been on a ship the whole time.
You have been on a ship. Now click those upwards arrows and let's see if you actually advance. That's an advance. That was not an advance. You didn't learn anything about seamanship after a month at sea. I don't even know what to tell you about that, really.
Albert just already knows everything.
He thinks he does, yeah. Kier of the Large already has 2 check marks, one in acrobatics and one in awareness. Those are from his two demons, so that was sad. He also gets 1 for the game session, 1 for the new location. We haven't given in. Oh, you did give in to your greed in going down to the docks, didn't you? Alone. So I'm going to give you a check mark for that too. 3 check marks to put in. It had some consequences, and the consequences were you have no purse anymore.
Really?
So
All his money?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'll go with crafting. Is it bartering? And 3. You said, right?
Yep.
Spot hidden. Maybe that'll work. Okay, now I'll try.
Let's
Look.
see. Lots of check marks all of a sudden. Acrobatics went up. And so did awareness. Bartering too. But not crafting. And not spot hidden either. It happens. How about wild then? You were here. And you were on the ship at sea for a long time. And we haven't given in to our thin-skinned, have we? You didn't actually challenge any of the Reavers, so no
I
check mark
didn't.
for that. 2 check marks then. Where are we putting
Alright.
those?
Do awareness and spot hidden.
Very well. And then click the up arrow. Oh, you don't seem to be logged in.
Oh.
That's a problem.
Oh. My connection? I'll go and refresh real quick.
Now it is, yeah.
That should put it right. Okay.
The donkeys have more hit points than I do.
Yep.
How many do they have? They probably have more than the rest of us as well.
Okay. So awareness, I said, and spot hidden.
Very good.
And I clicked the up arrow, you said?
Yes, indeed.
Alright. Alright.
Oh, look at that. Awareness goes up. And so does spot hidden, very much so.
Does
Yeah.
it get another check for getting a monster on there?
Nope.
Oh, darn.
All right. Next week, we reconvene with adventurers settling into young Hildur's tavern. Young Hildur's inn, really, because you can sleep here in a dorm. You can buy beds here, which I think everybody will do. And perhaps you'll also buy some food and drink, who knows? Or you might skimp on everything and just go with your own food and drink, who knows? That's up to you, how much coin you want to put into this particular location. But thanks to everyone who has taken part in this, the start of this epic journey. And in a week from now, we will be back with more adventures in Arhem and Maryura. An island that is probably completely peaceful, will yield a lot of fascinating archaeological findings, and no troubles or challenges at all. From here on out, you smooth sailing. You had the rough spot with the sailing, right? That's what we're counting on, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Just
Smooth
any
sailing from
problems.
here.
Indeed. See you in a week.
All right, see you
All
next
right.
week.
Thank you.